that reestablishes the doctor-patient relationship and puts the choice back into the hands of the American citizen. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 5th, 2011, the Chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gohmert, for 30 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A couple of issues I want to address. I appreciate so much my friend Dr. Fleming that has a adjoining district to mine across the Sabine River over in Louisiana. He makes great points. We need to get the federal government out of the business of controlling people's health care. We need to get them back in the business of being a referee, making sure insurance companies and health care providers do the right thing, but out of the business of dictating and controlling health care. Very clear from Obamacare, the IPAB, we got a board of 15 people going to dictate people's medical decisions for them. And of course, all of the pandering back during the debate on Obamacare, how you can, as my friend Dr. Fleming pointed out, the President, all those who mirror his comments, all those that read from the same teleprompter saying, oh, no, you like your health care, you can keep it. You like your doctor, you can keep it. Well, we knew they were wrong. They were wrong. So most people have already lost their health care exactly as they had it before if they liked it, and if they haven't yet, they will. That's why it was a good idea not only to repeal a provision on that board that will dictate people's lives, what health care they can have, what they can't have. That was a good idea. We need to repeal the whole bill. It is unconstitutional, and of course the President did us a wonderful favor by showing what many of us knew, that if Obamacare is considered constitutional, it's not, but if the courts considered it that way, then it is very clear the President believes, and I think under the bill, he has the authority to step on, suppress, override people's individual liberties and freedoms. We were assured by our founders that we were endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, among those life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Well, Obamacare modifies that to the extent that you can have life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness only if it meets with the approval of the administration in power and the people they've put on IPAB, and what they have to say about whether you're too old to have a treatment, whether or as like the President said in one of his town halls to a lady that said, will you at least consider the quality of life on people like my mother, and whether she could get a pacemaker since she'd lived for 10 years with the pacemaker. And he said ultimately, you know, maybe we're just better off telling your mother just take a pain pill. The part that he didn't say is take the pain pill and die, don't live 10 years, because that's what Obamacare will do for us. So hopefully the Supreme Court justices that will take this up and consider it will also realize that since Obamacare gives the President the power to override the Constitution and prohibit the free exercise of religion, I'm Baptist, but obviously it does clearly restrict the free exercise of individual Catholics, of Catholic institutions, and that's because the President says so, because Obamacare gives him the power to do that. And I hope that the Supreme Court justices will take note of that. They could take judicial notice of what has been publicly done by order, and take note of the fact that since our freedom of religion is clearly expressed in the first part of the First Amendment, and it's there in black and white, the government's not to prohibit the free exercise of religion, And since the privacy rights, as the Supreme Court has come to call them, are not written in the Constitution, they were somehow found in the shadow of a penumbra somewhere, that, gee, if Obamacare gives the President the power to override people's constitutional rights for rights that are put in stated words in the Constitution, then it's certainly going to give some redneck president down the road the right to just say, you know what, the privacy rights aren't even there, and so we're setting those aside too. Just like I set aside Catholics and other religious beliefs, now we have the power to set aside a right that's not even mentioned in the Constitution. And it ought to scare every thinking liberal. We won't get the ones that don't think, but every thinking liberal ought to have that go to their core and give them goosebumps. Oh, my goodness. I didn't think about some redneck person possibly becoming president, because at some point the American people are going to get so fed up with having Washington dictate all of their individual decisions that they may just elect the biggest redneck they can get. And because the Supreme Court, if it were to do the unthinkable and rule Obamacare as constitutional, then the administration will have not only a right, they will have a duty to dictate to people how they can live. Because if the federal government has the right under the Constitution to control all our health care, putting some providers out of business, picking winners and losers, telling who gets a pain pill, who gets a pacemaker. If they have the right to do that, the government has a duty to tell every person how they can live. Now, we're told that the federal government, if it wanted to, could look at every debit purchase, every credit card purchase. I mean, I got in this discussion with some government attorneys back before I ever got to Congress. And they were saying, look, your banks have the right to review all of your banking records. Why shouldn't the government? I explained, because the government can put us in jail and a bank can't. That's why there are protections against the government. But Obamacare will give the government control of our health care, and therefore, at some point, it will only make sense that they live up to their duty to say, you know what, we of course, under Obamacare, the federal government will have every person's health care records. It becomes the repository for everyone's most private information about their lives. There's nothing in mine I'm worried about, but it is quite bothersome to think that there is nothing that can be private from the federal government once they have all of everybody's health care records. Well, if they've got everybody's health care records, wouldn't it make sense that at some point down the road they say, you know what, you're costing us too much money. You're not living properly. And we noted that in your health care records, you've got a 280 cholesterol level. And then we noticed you went to the grocery store and bought a pound of bacon this weekend, so we're going to have to change your health care, change the charges. Folks, that is a reasonable conclusion of where Obamacare has to take us if it's ruled constitutional. It's got to stop. One other thing I want to mention, Mr. Speaker, it's been reported today in a couple of places. One of my friend Breitbart's online news blurb from A.W.R. Hawkins. Another is from the Washington Post, two different ends of the spectrum perhaps. They're both reporting the same thing, that this administration, through Secretary Hillary Clinton, is going to announce that it could care less what Congress has ordered about helping the enemies of Israel. about helping those who are terrorizing and persecuting Christians in Egypt and destroying churches and eliminating freedom of religion, and are saying they want to rethink their peace accord with Israel and setting themselves up to be the enemy of Israel. And now this administration, knowing that Congress passed a law that says you can't give people money in Egypt unless you can certify to certain facts. And they cannot, not honestly. If they do so now with what we know publicly, we know they will not be honest in doing so. And they're going to give $1.5 billion, not in humanitarian aid, according to this story, not food, military aid. So forget all of those speeches that this president gave at AIPAC and, oh gosh, we're Israel's best friend, we're going to help them, because, oh no, we're going to give people who have the power to destroy Israel on the border with Israel military aid as they are planning, many there, make it clear they hate Israel, they hate us. And I've said over and over, we don't have to pay people to hate us. They'll do it for free. We have to quit funding the enemy of us and the enemy of our friends. This is insane. And I hope somewhere in this administration is a cooler head that will say, Mr. President, Madam Secretary, Israel is our friend. Remember the speeches you've both given about what a friend they are? And it's time that we do not provide military aid, abetting, and assistance to people that want to destroy Christians, that want to destroy Israelis, and that want to put the world in turmoil and have everyone living exactly as they dictate. We want to keep some freedoms here and in Israel, and the way to do that is not to fund and provide military assistance to anyone unless we know they are our friend, they're Israel's friend, they're the friends of our friends. To do otherwise will bring calamity on this country like they will not realize until it's too late. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Does the gentleman have a motion?
This time I would move that we do now hereby adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until noon on Monday next for morning hour debate.
Well, the House has completed business for the week.